So when we met, guys, he was 26 and I was 21, so he was very young.
I love you, and we kissed that time.
Hi everyone.
Hi everybody.
So today we're filming how I met my husband. So I joined the dating website March 16, 2007, and that time I worked in a computer in an internet cafe. I was a computer attendant, internet cafe attendant.
She had to make sure her job in the cafe was to make sure the boys weren't being mischief on the computer.
Yeah. And that time I was free to use the computer as long as I did my job very good every day. So when I tried to, I register in a few hours. I searched some last login male or
Guys.
so I found his profile. It was very interesting to know about him, and I messaged him first, and then when he woke up the next day in my time, in Philippine time, he messaged me back.
Started chatting about stuff.
Yeah, well, I work, we chat every day.
And sometimes if I'm not working for the weekend, I stay up very late. I'll stay up late while she was working and talk to her. I usually would have a big giant glass of milk.
And the Oreo, sometimes
Oreos.
he eats a brownie.
And brownies. A few days after we had talked, I surprised her and called her on her birthday and wished her happy birthday.
And I received a package. The LBC sent me a package from Phil Gifts, and he ordered the gifts from online, the Phil Gifts.
It's like a Bath and Body stuff.
Yeah,
I think.
and the stuffed toy.
My flight was the next to last day of April, and then in our time, Philippine time, I ended up arriving on the last day of April, and she ran across the street at the airport and we hugged each other.
Yeah, we met in Cebu, Mactan Airport. In that time, we don't have any pictures in the airport, but I don't know, maybe we were very excited. Like,
Busy, right?
yeah. But my friends also didn't take any pictures of us on the airport. But we have a first picture together in a hotel. So he stayed in Philippines for 30 days, and we stayed in the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hotel was close walking distance to where she lived, and we decided she felt okay that we would stay together as long as I behaved myself and I wasn't mischief or a rude or bad guy. So I behaved myself, and she stayed, and she took all the luggage and started organizing everything. She wouldn't let me touch my own luggage. She started putting it all in the closet and organizing it all. So I just sat and watched.
And also, guys, when we met in person, we were not boyfriend and girlfriend. We were just friends that time.
Yeah.
And we didn't say I love you in the chat.
We didn't consider ourselves a couple or a relationship at the immediate moment. I was just coming over. I'd already planned to travel to Cebu, and it just worked out that we talked before I visited Philippines. So we felt comfortable enough, and we felt okay enough that I would devote the time in Philippines to being with her, just visiting, or just meeting and spending time together to start to see how we felt. But even though we had We had already talked for a long time, several weeks before then. So we ended up, if our math is correct, we meet 43 days after we started talking, which is actually, I think, good and nice and fortunate, because some people talk for a year or more before they're able to meet or decide to meet. It's a very long time. It was just fortunate that I was already planning to travel. So we just were everything matched up very well, and we enjoyed talking to each other a lot. And she's a very nice person and kind person, just to talk to her. So we had breakfast in the little restaurant in the hotel, and she wasn't eating. I was eating, and she just kept looking at me, like moving her eyebrow up and down her face. She looked like mischievous on her face, just watching me while I ate around that time.
So
There was also, wasn't there a Pacquiao fight going on, or a boxing match or something? It wasn't Pacquiao, was it? Somebody was there was a boxing match on the TV, and the security guard was sitting at the table watching the boxing match.
So when we met, guys, he was 26 and I was 21. So he was very young and yummy. What?
She is younger and more yummy. So we just started hanging out in Cebu and going around the city. We went to the SM and Ayala malls, and we went to Cologne. We went to Cologne Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just down there, and
Magellan Cross.
went to Magellan Cross and the
church.
Santo Nino. Yeah, and we also spent time with some of her friends that in the neighborhood where she lived, in the place where she lived. We hung out with them a lot. Then we took a little road trip to this little swimming hole this waterfall.
The Carmen
Falls.
Carmen Falls.
So we went there and like with a group of us, and we had do we have a lechin? We had some kind of foods there, yeah. And swim and all that. That was fun. And I think that's where we say I love you, and we kissed that time. This all happened very quickly, but it wasn't rushed. It was for us. It was normal, and it just happened naturally. Everything just felt perfect. Our situation, our story is very unique from this point on. We felt so strongly about each other, and knowing what the future would hold with regards to moving forward with trying to be together as a couple for a long-term situation. We decided then and there, and I was also talking with her uncle, who I got to meet in Cebu. We decided that we were going to have a simple civil ceremony, just to make it official what we already knew we wanted to do in the future in our life. If you want to call it a whirlwind romance, it was something like that, really, from that point. So we excitedly, with the help of her friends and her uncle, we got everything together. Fortunately, I had access to everything I needed. Just as a traveler, I decided, without even really planning, I brought my birth certificate. I brought important documents with me, just in case of in an emergency or any other reason, I would have stuff on in my possession. Well, it was very fortunate I had those, because it allowed and facilitated the ability for us to actually have a simple civil wedding, which we ended up having on May 18 at the courthouse. We were able to get everything together that allowed for us to have the civil ceremony at the courthouse. And her parents and sisters weren't able to travel because it was short notice, and they're a farming family. So despite all that, despite the fact that none of my family obviously could be there, we went through with this just to make it official, to make it a marriage, because that's what we knew we would eventually do anyway. So we went ahead and had the ceremony, and then went back to her where she lived with our friends and her uncle who was there, and we actually did have a lechon and cake, and it was a very nice small reception afterwards. Of course, before we did this, we both was in contact with our families. I called my family and told them I was going to do what I knew it was eventually going to happen for us anyway, and she did the same with her family. And so that's how our very unique story started, and the journey continued from there. And then after a couple weeks, what you guess you could call an impromptu honeymoon, I had to return home, unfortunately. So it was a very sad day when I had to leave and had to leave her behind there. But I had to go back because my parents, my father especially, was starting to not feel well at the time. So I had to be home. So I ended up going home in that time. And then we started getting the paperwork ready to file for a spousal visa in the U.S. However, at that time it was very slow and long waiting, and it was excessively long. And I came to a point where I thought of a way we could be together without having to go through this long wait. So eventually I ended up traveling abroad again. So after returning home, I got the paperwork gathered together and eventually filed for a spousal visa with the U.S. Immigration Service.
So guys, tapos na po yung story namin guys, and we're going to
continue the story
next time about my visa and about our life living in abroad. So thank you guys for watching.
What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a